Ravanelli scored in the 95th, and then Heskey scored in the 118th.
Ravanelli for tea tonight.
Here's our culture correspondent, Ed Noon. Hello and welcome to episode 27 of the First4LCFC Podcast. And unfortunately, we have another week with no actual football to talk about. But worry not, as myself, Edbert and Krys are going to have another stab at creating the distraction from everything going on around us with an hour or so of Leicester City related nonsense. So welcome to the pod, guys. How are you both?
Grand.
All good. Well, as good as you can be. All this isolation stuff. It's pretty weird, isn't it, if you have to just sit at home? But I mean, it's for the best, and it's just it's a lot of getting used to, I think.
Absolutely. And we had that challenge set last week to not mention the actual word. So let's see if we can do it again, because we managed to do it last week. But last week we had a quiz which ended up being extremely one-sided. Krys obviously romped home with a 6-3 victory. And Ed, I figured we'd give you an opportunity to try and redeem yourself with another quiz, because, everyone loved it so much. So look, last week, Frank Sinclair featured as a Who Am I, following his £2 million signing from Chelsea, which was a club record. So this week is all about our transfer records. So this is what I mean. This is very, very easy to Google. I'm trusting you to, no cheating, especially you, Ed, Krys, because, he smashed last week.
I can't believe Jamie hasn't revealed who it is. But someone texts Jamie accusing me of cheating because of that Craig Levine guess. I can assure you with my hand on my heart, I did not cheat. That's just, that's education.
Well, this week will be telling. We'll see, won't we? Right. So, Krys, as you won it so easily last week, you get to go first. So the pressure's on you as defending champion. Right. So this was a transfer record that we broke in January 1997 when we paid £1.6 million to Oxford United. Can you guess it from that alone?
£1.6 million to Oxford United.
Okay, I'll give you a few more clues, because he went on to make nearly 300 appearances, most of them at centre back.
Oh, it's Matt Elliott, isn't it?
It is Matt Elliott. Obviously lifted the League Cup for us, played as a striker every now and then, scored some pretty crucial goals. Yes. So that puts you 1-0 up. That was an easy one, just to ease you into it a little bit. Ed, this one should be relatively straightforward. This player arrived in the year 2000 for a then club record fee of £5 million.
In 2000?
Yeah. And as I gave Krys a couple of clues, I should probably give you a few. He was a striker. He scored 10 goals in his first season, but only 2 the next, and eventually left for £2 million, meaning that we cost the club around £230,000 per Premier League goal.
That's not very good.
No. So it's a club record, obviously, and it was in the year 2000.
Yeah, I'm not very good at this game, am I? Genuine.
Is there another clues?
No. I'm just wondering if Krys knows the answer to this question.
I think I've got a good guess at it. Yeah.
Is there a time limit?
Yeah, I think you've surpassed it.
If you'd like to have a little bit of a guess at it.
No idea. Well, you said Trevor Benjamin at the start of the show, so I'll just say him again.
Incorrect. I'll hand it over to Krys, who can take a 2-0 lead if he gets this right.
I don't think we have mentioned Trevor Benjamin, unless you're hallucinating.
Well, who did you mention at the start?
Frank Sinclair.
Oh. Was it?
I'm going to go, I think, my only logical guess is, was it Adi Akinbaye? Was he £5 million?
It was Adi Akinbaye.
Why am I thinking he was 6 million?
No.
Is that really the reason you didn't
get it?
it?
Because I thought recently when we signed Joa, didn't he beat that record? And everyone was like, oh, because it was like 6 million or something. Don't worry, I was wrong. It was an obvious answer.
I mean,
Next.
yeah, come on, we're splitting hairs a little bit with that one. Right, Chris. So that record, can't believe this, stood for 14 years until 2014 when newly promoted Leicester signed this player for 8 million. Who is it?
Who's Joa?
Yeah, I think Ed's just giving it away.
You should have just.
In a quiz about record transfers, maybe saying who the next one wasn't such a good idea.
Oh dear.
So,
I've just got to
yeah.
help Chris out. He needs the points, don't he? Bless him.
So 3-0 to Chris, and yeah, it was Leo Joa. 18 Premier League goals for Leicester. Right, Ed, I'm not saying that you need this, but you need it. Signed in the summer of 2016 for £14 million. This was the first of 3 times that summer that Leicester broke their transfer record. And he was signed by, obviously, Claudio Ranieri, who had managed him previously at Monaco.
At Monaco? Who did we sign? In what year? 2016. Okay.
He managed at Monaco, but that's not to say that's where we got him from.
Did he play with who? Did he play with Mendy? Was from France. So I'll just go with him. Was it Nam? Yes. You giving me a point?
I will give you 1 point.
Oh, I do not understand this feeling. I'm overcome with emotion.
I mean, it's still 3-1. This
I'm
could be
there, though. I'm getting
nothing
there.
more than a constant goal. Or is it the start of an unbelievable comeback? Who knows? Right, Chris, on to you again. In that summer, as I mentioned, Leicester broke their transfer record 3 times. First with Mendy for 14 million. But who were the other 2 players? And I'll give you bonus points if you can get their values.
What year? Which summer was this again?
The summer of 2016, the summer after we won the league.
All right. Who we signed?
Yes.
One of them, it was Hernandez, weren't it?
He was not the one who broke the transfer record.
Oh, sorry, I literally didn't hear that bit. What was the question? I thought you said, who else did we sign?
No, who was the record that summer?
Oh, not that I know the answer off the top of my head. As in we broke it once and then again. Well, one of them would have been Slimani, wouldn't it?
Yep, correct.
I think his was it about 26.7 million or something like that?
29 is the reported figure.
Okay.
I believe I know the other one.
Wait. Well, I'm not sure whether he's the. Oh no. No. No, I've literally had a mind blank. I don't even know if he's the one who had the bigger record or he's the one who got broken. Okay. So yeah, over to Ed.
It's my good friend Musa, isn't it?
It is your good friend Musa. Matt, you want to
bring him back? Bring him back.
So Ed, that's made it 4-2. Chance to close the gap here. If you can tell me how much we signed him for, and this is according to the BBC website. I'm not taking any other interpretation.
I'm going to say then approximately. I don't think he was I think he was around 20-ish, but I think it's a bit below. So I'll say 18 million.
Close. The reported figure was 16.6. I was going to give you a million either way, but sadly.
What about 1.4?
Pass. Okay, 14. It remains. Okay. So, Ed, this is your question, though. So this player who was sold in March of 2000 set 2 records in that he was our club record sale, but he was also the record purchase of the club that bought him for £11 million. Who was it?
2000. My initial thought was Heskey, but I'll go with my gut, Heskey.
Heskey is correct. So yeah, £11 million to Liverpool, breaking their transfer record at the time as well.
Big numbers.
That was big money back then. That would be. Well, what would that get you nowadays? Absolutely nothing.
11 million.
7 Heskies for Virgil van Dijk.
I mean, I'm just looking at our record departures. We sold Jeffrey Schlupp for 12 million. So there you go. Right. So that makes 4-3. Krys. Now this is, as we've discussed a couple of them. I need all 5 of these to get it right. Name the top 5 departures from Leicester City, not necessarily in order, but this is again according to Transfer Market, whose numbers I think are pretty accurate. So, top 5 biggest sales.
Oh my days! I was getting mind blanks. Right, Mahrez,
Yeah.
Kante.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Drinkwater.
Mm-hmm.
Nice.
I think I was thinking of Champions winning squad. That's about it, isn't it? For the good players going. Unless I'm missing someone but glaring obvious. I'm screaming down the podcast at me now. Beyond that, well, she got like Heskey at 11, but sure there was a couple more bigger than that. What was there? I'm running out of guesses, so I'm going to say Heskey. I don't have anything beyond that.
You've missed the glaring one.
So, Ed, you have.
The comeback.
If you can have the other 2, you will make it level heading into your last question.
Could you tell me? So he said.
So far, he's got Riyad Mahrez, Danny Drinkwater, and N'Golo Kante.
Okay, of course. Harry Maguire.
Oh yeah.
Wyatt, yeah, for a massive fee.
But too far, I really don't know the other one. Who have we sold recently? Could we have got a decent? Didn't we get a good fee for Musa? I'm going to say Musa.
It was. You're right. We somehow recovered nearly £15 million.
This is very, very sexy comeback.
Has Jamie got a tiebreaker lined up though?
Well, the thing is, Ed's not had his last question.
Oh, yeah, my bad. I get carried away.
If this is a 5, well, if I have another 5-person one, I need 3 to win.
I have actually got a tiebreaker ready this time, so don't worry.
You literally don't need one.
Is he going to need it? That's the question. So, Ed, in Leicester City's history, what is the largest fee they've paid for a goalkeeper, and who's the goalkeeper in question?
The largest fee we've paid for goalkeeper, I'm guessing, is Ward, and we probably paid in this day and age. Liverpool wouldn't let him go for cheap. £12 million.
He's done it. His comeback is complete. 5-4 turnaround. Absolute scene.
I'm punching my fist.
And he gave me Ujoa as an answer as well, but then Musa got him a brace, which he never did for Leicester, other than Barcelona. So.
What was the correct? I'm assuming you gave me a rounded score. What was the exact value of the transfer?
According to this, it was 12.6 million. Because 12 million was widely reported.
I was playing, as many listeners probably do at the moment, playing Football Manager, and I'm trying to shift some deadwood, and you can fetch £10 million for Ward. I didn't realise he's only, well, at the time of the game, he was 26 at the start of the season. Like, that's made me think that being a sub goalkeeper is literally a profession. I think we spoke about this in the previous podcast, but like, he's clearly happy just taking a wage. I don't know what it might be, like 35 grand or something, but like realistically, like looking at him as well, he's not the most. He's obviously carrying a bit of probably excess weight and stuff. Like, isn't that just like the ideal job? Well, it's not. It depends how motivated you are, but I'm going to question his motivation. Someone like Conrad Logan as well. Like, they've literally breezed through their career ultimately as substitute goalkeepers.
A fun stat, I've just Googled him. He's played more than 5 games in a season, twice in his professional career, and he's 26. So,
What is that, appearances?
yeah.
Yeah, that's mental. That's what I mean. Like, it's crazy. But then, talking of Football Manager whilst we're on it, so don't totally break up the flow. Do you know, we've got that Hurst who plays for the under-23s, and a lot of people sort of say that Football Manager get the wages, relatively right. Guess how much his rumoured contract is supposed to be?
15.
It's
got to be like around 10 grand a week.
Yeah, 10 grand a week, which is mental. Like, because that is crazy. That just shows. I mean, we're not going to get into a whole political debate, but like the money at the top of the game, because 10 grand, like that's like, well, I'm not sure what Salford are operating at in like League Two or anything, but you're not going to get a League Two player on 10 grand a week. Do you know what I mean? That's crazy money, isn't it?
That is, yeah. I mean, that's insane. Yeah, I don't. It's not bad for a player that's not made the first team yet, is it? But what's the game, isn't it? The only other player that they rate really highly is the left back Thomas. They seem to think he's one of the ones to keep an eye on. Oh, and also I managed to get £35 million for Damari Gray, laughing all the way to the bank with that one.
That's mental. I sold him on the game as well, but I only got about 15 plus add-ons.
I don't know why a lot of clubs were interested in him. I don't, they get it wrong every now and then. So the tiebreaker question was going to be, so Transfer Market give you the answer to 2 digits in millions. So it was going to be who could get the closest to how much they believed we got for David Nugent when we sold him to Middlesbrough at age 30. So it was going to be who was closest to it. Do you want to give it a guess anyway?
That would literally be an absolute random number, because I wouldn't have been surprised if it was like 3. Nugent, maybe like 3.75 million.
Right. I was going to say 4.2.
Krys would have edged it. We managed to get 5.04 million.
Really?
Big Nuge, so not too bad.
What a good player he was for us in the Championship, goals-wise.
No,
he was an absolute great player for us, so can't complain. And he did all right in the Great Escape, didn't he, as well?
Well, talking of, whilst we're, again, talking former strikers and transfer talks, obviously a premium in real life, at least, other than Football Manager. I've seen that Krys Wood is lined up as a replacement for if Arsenal let go of one of their strikers, which is an interesting one. I thought. I don't think he necessarily fits the mould of Arteta or Arsenal, but why not?
Could you imagine a player less suited to the so-called Arsenal way of playing the game?
Yeah, I don't think there's anything in that.
I saw a report in the news that I think it was just the Sun anyway. So read into it what you want. That Man U want to sign Aubameyang. So maybe it's just agent talk trying to make Arsenal look that way if they're going to lose a player.
Yeah, I've seen the Aubameyang links, but at the rate we're going, who knows when.
We could sign him as a Vardy backup.
Oh dear, my head's gone, to be fair. Like, I've started to forget who plays for what team. It's only been like 2 or 3 weeks.
Did you see the Vardy video on the official Leicester Twitter account today?
What, the caterpillar?
Well, yeah, that was one, but it was him like telling people to stay inside and stuff. It just to me, I was thinking he needs some more Red Bulls. I think he's probably taken time off now that he's not playing as much, and he seemed very dreary.
I don't know. All it's like, I think the players are making a point. Well, I don't really follow many. I've got Vardy on Instagram, I think, but they're making a point of sort of showing that they are doing fitness and stuff at home. But yeah, maybe. Well, imagine like being a footballer, you are used to training every day, and then you just have to get out on a spin bike or something. But then again, saying that, he's pretty much got like a five-a-side pitch in his back garden, from what you can see in the videos. So I won't be that bored.
So whilst we were, I was just scrolling through our Facebook.
Moving on.
Sorry, only because it's making me laugh. I was just scrolling through our Facebook to find the comments on our latest question that we asked for the pod. And I've come down to a post which I believe was you, Krys, in there when you said that Leicester City were the last team to score in the Premier League before the suspension. The last time English Football League was suspended was in the 1939/40 season after just 3 games. Leicester were 2-0 victors over West Ham in that. One of the questions is, why was it suspended in 1939? I don't know.
Oh my days! I wish there was a video stream because I'm creasing like literally. It's hard to. Yeah, I saw this question come up, and I was like, no, I'm not answering that because.
I mean,
just. And then obviously you check back and go ahead and read the thread out.
Well, I don't want to insult anyone, but this is quite funny. So, someone's obviously seen that and gone. Enough people have seen it, done what you did, Krys, and gone, no, I'm not touching that one. But someone's come in and gone, yeah, come on, we'll take this one on. So he said that it might have had something to do with a war, to which the original poster has replied, I don't know much history. I wasn't alive then. But then she gets very motivational. You can't change the past, but you can the future. I'm inspired. This guy came back and he said, well, we had a big war with the Germans. And the response was, is that the Hitler one? Yes, that was the Hitler one. I mean,
We've definitely lost a follower on Facebook.
I think so.
He wasn't. I don't know if that person was on the wind-up or not, but pretty alarming stuff. That
if they were, they played an absolute blinder. Outstanding content. Right. So anyway, listen. The original thing that I was looking for. A question that we thought we'd discover in these isolated times where we were, wishing for any sort of football to watch, was we posed the question, what was your first experience watching Leicester City live that you can remember? Obviously, because a lot of us when we were very, very young. So I thought we'd put that question to you guys. And basically, if you can tell us what you can remember from your first game. And Ed, just to clarify, this is your first game watching Leicester, not your first trip to Old Trafford.
Never been to Old Trafford.
I presume you've got a few of them that you can think of. But we'll just go with Leicester.
I'll admit it. I'll happily be willing to take some pelters. So I'll open this up to the floor. The first game I went to was any football, was not a Leicester game. It was in fact in the home end at Pride Park.
Man's confessing that on this podcast. That's unreal.
I got auntie. All my cousins are all they were then season ticket holders, and one of them got ill, and they were like, "Do you want to go and watch a game?" So I was like, "Yeah." But against Plymouth Argyle many moons ago. But I feel like it was 4-1. But I'll quick Google it now.
Chris, how easy is it to kick someone off a Skype call? Is it hard or?
I just want to know. He's witnessed a 4-1 victory, and it's still not enough to convince him to follow the Rams.
Might be like, well, yeah. No, we'll move it on to the actual topic. And still, funnily enough, still paints me to look like an absolute moron to give the real answer. Being, I can't remember the game I went to. The first game I went to, the only thing I remember, we were directly behind the goal in the Kop end, like right in the middle. This is at the King Power, or the Walk as it was then, whatever. And we're about 2 or 3 rows up. And anyone who's listening who may sit in that area may remember this woman. She may still go there, but she was sat there tearing up tissue paper all game, like getting really into it and really like agitated. And I remember asking her like if she's all right, and she just said, yeah, she brings like loads of coloured like kitchen roll to every single Leicester match, and just sits there tearing it into little balls and chucking it on the floor because it helps with her anxiety. So that's really all I remember from my first game. Can't remember. Maybe I was just taken aback by the clientele at football games that I couldn't remember the exact opponent.
Oh my god! I mean, we all deal with it in different ways, don't we? There's a bit of stress watching football. You got to do what you can.
No, right. And my third and final attempt at a proper answer. The first game I remember going to, and in which I remember who the opposition was, it was the game against Scunthorpe in League One when we got the trophy and the players did a lap of honour at the end of the game. That was, I came to football late, like I said. I think it was even on the last podcast, very much a rugby family. So
I'll give
you two are going to go much further back for your first game. Yeah, mine was in the League One season. I remember.
Give you a question from that. Who was the captain who lifted the trophy?
God knows, was it?
Was
it Oakley?
It was Oakley, wasn't it?
Well, I know. I said, is it Oakley?
Did he not used to play for Derby?
Yeah. We signed the season we went down. Didn't we sign Clements and Oakley, who were the captains of two of the teams who got promoted the season before? I seem to remember that was like a weird stat because we got where's Clements? Clements was from Birmingham, wasn't he?
Was it Birmingham? It was Forest.
No, we got Matt Oakley from Derby, and Stephen Clements came from Birmingham, all in the same season, and then we immediately got relegated.
Yeah, did not go well that season.
No, we spent a lot of money that year. We spent nearly $3 million on DJ Campbell. That was the signing.
Not a real DJ either.
No, he's not. It's a really misleading name. And also thought there was a good idea to spend $270,000 on Hossein Kaibi. But anyway, we're going to come to disappointing signings later. Krys, your first game.
Okay.
Remember?
I can remember it very vividly, probably for all the wrong reasons. It was back in 2001, 9th of October 2001, so I was 9 years old. I always used to ask for football tickets for my birthday. So my birthday's on the 7th of October, so pretty close. So I must have been buzzing about that. So picture the scene, evening kickoff, League Cup third round against Leeds United. At home, Filbert Street, got tickets right behind the goal. That's where, me as a kid, I always wanted to sit, as close to the goal as possible. I'm not sure if that was something that other people of that age wanted to do, but I was obsessed with it. So, my dad got us tickets, and, it ended 6-0 to Leeds. So,
nice.
Not ideal. So, I'll run you. I don't remember the actual goals going in. I do remember Robbie Keane getting hat-tricks. I think he did his trademark cartwheel and gun fingers.
Did you say that was a cup game? Sorry.
Yeah, League Cup third round.
Did we play a weekend side?
No, and this is the analysis continues. I want to actually praise how good this Leeds United side was. We'll focus on them and move on to Leicester City. So they were 3-0 up at half-time thanks to a brace from Robbie Keane and Eric Bakker. And then Robbie Keane, Viduka and Kuehl made it 6 by 64 minutes. So they must have took their foot off the gas because could have easily been 9 or 10 in that one. But looking at their team, right, they got Nigel Martin, Danny Mills, Rio Ferdinand, Jonathan Woodgate and Ian Hart. I mean, that as a back five, pretty solid. Then you got Ian Hart, Eric Bakker, Lee Bowyer, Olivier Dacour, Harry Kuehl, with Robbie Keane and Mark Viduka leading the line. And then you got subs like Alan Smith, Stephen McPhail and Michael Dewberry came on. That's a wealth of talent, but that was around the time they were Champions League semi-finalists or something like that, I'm pretty sure I remember.
But not these days.
No, but looking at Leicester City's team, there was definitely no weaknesses for me. You got Ian Walker, Gary Rowett, Matt Elliott, Frank Sinclair, and Matt Jones. Played 3 at the back according to this. Then Matt Jones, Muzzy Is It, Matt Piper, Robbie Savage, Dennis Wise, Scowcroft and Sturridge. So I'm not sure. Maybe there was some players missing because that doesn't sound like a great team, but nonetheless, that's what I remember. Filbert Street. I don't really remember a lot about like the atmosphere or anything, but looking back, it looked like a sort of it's the most similar ground you can probably pick now is sort of Selhurst Park, isn't it, or maybe somewhere like Goodison Park in terms of the way it looks. But so that's what I remember from that one.
Yeah, but you've gone back a while for that. I mean, there's some proper blasts in the past there. I mean, the first game I went to, I don't honestly remember a lot of it because I was 4. So it's not really
better excuse than mine.
It's not really stuck with me. It was a 3-1 win over Tottenham Hotspur back in September of 1994. Yes, it was.
Hold up, you weren't 4 in 9. Yeah, more like 24.
I was going to say, it might surprise anyone who listens to this regularly that I am in fact only 29. But believe it or not,
years young.
To say, Jurgen Klinsmann scored the goal for Tottenham Hotspur. Julian Joachim scored twice for us. Incidentally, Julian Joachim's actually still playing.
He plays 5-a-side at goals in Leicester, doesn't he?
Well, maybe he does. I don't know, but he's a full-time player for Bourne Town still.
Good team.
I don't even know. Is that in Leicestershire?
Yeah. So he's 45 years old.
Mate, he played for Europa Point last season.
In Gibraltar?
Yeah. Big boy stuff.
He would have been in a Europa League first round qualifier, surely.
He's done the rounds of clubs round here basically since he left Leicester.
Holville Town, Shepshed Dynamo,
Villa. Obviously,
I have a rumour that Levi Porter plays and he gets paid to play. But apparently he was really struggling for cash at one point. So that's just a little rumour on the grapevine. I don't think Levi Porter listens to this podcast. But apparently he's really tricky to defend against still because he's still got the pace.
Well, he was probably one of those that disappointed me the most. He had such a great potential, didn't he? And then never quite hit the heights that we thought he would because he was small and absolutely rapid and really thought he'd be the man. But yeah, sadly not, but we'll come to that as well. But the actual game that I can remember, like properly remember the game and the details about it, was the League Cup final that we drew 1-1 with Middlesbrough at Wembley. Obviously, going to Wembley is a big occasion, so you can remember all the stuff that comes with it, walking up to the towers and being in a stadium that size. Obviously, I've been to Filbert Street, which is a cracking place, but then you go to somewhere like Wembley and it properly blows your mind that all these people are there to watch you.
Wembley as well, worth noting.
And yeah, absolutely. And it was, it was a bit. It's really strange one as well because that was back in the days where obviously they went on to do replays. So you had this massive sort of event, and then it feels a little bit damp almost at the end because.
Where's the replay played at?
It was then played in Hillsborough. Which obviously we won that one. There was a late goal from Heskey in that game, in extra time, right in sort of in the last minute of extra time. So it was a cracking game. But that's my first memory. Obviously scoring in the 118th minute. It was a fairly good atmosphere.
Great. So you went to Wembley and to Hillsborough?
No, I didn't do Hillsborough. I just did the the original. That's it. Yeah, lack of commitment.
Oh, so we equalised in the 118th minute.
We did. Ravanelli scored in the 95th, and then Heskey scored in the 118th.
Ravanelli
for tea tonight.
Here's our culture correspondent, Ed Noon.
They would have had a Janino as well, wouldn't they, in that era?
Yeah, they had Janino, Emerson, and one Nigel Pearson was their captain that day.
Who's that?
Sort of, yeah. Fairly famous for that in our recent history. And that was obviously the famous Martin O'Neill side, the likes of Lennon, Izzet, Parker, Claridge, Heskey. It was a properly good team, that was. Right, so listen, when we're looking back throughout the history of the club, it sort of struck us that we'd signed some absolute shite over the years. Basically, we were looking at the side because we've obviously had a lot of signings. We've gone through periods of having cash, of having no cash, of being in good positions, being in bad positions. And there's been a huge amount of people come into the club. So the question I wanted to ask you guys was, which players most exceeded and disappointed in terms of your expectations? So who achieved more at the club and who achieved less and who was better? So we'll do one of each. So we'll do the player that exceeded expectations first from you all. So Krys, who was it for you?
For me, I mean, it didn't take much deliberation for me, to be fair. Once I thought of this player, I stuck with it, and it was Esteban Cambiasso. So he joined in the it would have been in the summer of 2014, or I think so, from Inter Milan. So straight away, it's a crazy. Yeah, I mean, he'd played over 300 times for Inter Milan, and previous to that, 40 times or 41 times for Real Madrid. Before that, he was in Argentina, but nonetheless, so clearly European pedigree. You was thinking at this stage, why is he coming to Leicester? Is this just a move, sort of to tail end his career? Will he still have the motivation, etc.? So for me at the time, I can't tell you exactly how I felt. There was probably a bit of excitement, but ultimately thinking, this is like a Roberto Mancini type. Is he going to just play like a handful of games and, that's it, take a relatively fat paycheck? But no, he ultimately spurred that team on, scored an iconic goal that I remember against Man United in that 5-3. He just seemed like a really down-to-earth guy. Anything that came out of the camp was that he was a good character to have around, and ultimately passed on a lot of knowledge and wisdom in an important season for us. So that's me on him. I'm not sure if other people disagree and they just thought they'd come with that pedigree and use it. But for me, I thought, no, this is going to be a bit of a joke for him and just to tick the Premier League off his list. But he's a true professional. So thank you, Esteban, for that.
I didn't think he'd be the sort of player that is what you need in a relegation battle, was my initial thoughts. Like, it's nice to get a big name person, but like I say, if you don't know if they're just coming for the experience rather than putting it all on the line to make sure we stay up, I was a bit nervy about it. But naturally, I was wrong, and he played a big part in us staying up, didn't he?
Well, yeah, it's a very bizarre signing, and it's one of those that you look back on and think, in terms of sort of Premier League signings, and it's obviously I'm looking at it with Leicester City sort of tinted specs on, but and I've done no preparation in terms of this sort of answer anyway. But would he be in like the top 5 or 10 sort of not overall Premier League signings, but maybe like sort of veterans, if you like, iconic players joining the Premier League? Because, well, obviously, like I said, I've not done any prep, and I'm sure people listening will be thinking the names now, but like Esteban Cambiasso, at the time, we're used to seeing him play straight on in a Champions League for these giant clubs, and then he's at Leicester. I mean, that's quite a big move at the end of someone's career, I thought. So maybe can you think of anyone else who joined the Prem late on and actually proved their worth?
Not to that extent. I mean, when you think about his honour roll, he's won, pretty much everything there was to win at a club level, for Real and Inter, and even won the league when he went to Greece after leaving Leicester. So he's been there and done it with everyone. And I don't know how much you read into it, but obviously there were the rumours that he essentially ran the team towards the end. He fell out with Vardy a little bit, didn't he? But he had a huge impact, doesn't he? But no, there's no one. I mean, obviously, the only other player that we signed that was with that sort of similar reputation that I can think of was Roberto Mancini.
And obviously, as I alluded, was not. Well, I think that was back in the day when Well, I'm not sure if this is even a thing, but you used to loan someone for a month, didn't you? I'm not sure whether it was like an emergency or something, but did we not get him in like January and it literally lasted like a month? And that wasn't, I don't know, I don't remember. Maybe my memory's just not serving me correctly, but I swear it was really short term.
Well, it wasn't. Yeah, he wasn't exactly there long. We signed him on loan, and he only played 4 games. So I don't think he was. And then he basically decided to give up and retire. He basically said, and then he'd been offered a manager's job and decided to take that, and rang Leicester and said, "Sorry, I'm off."
Were we Roberto Mancini's last professional game?
We were.
That that's a lovely segue for me to talk about my hero. Actually, something I did tweet earlier out of boredom was that Alan Brazil's first competitive goal was for Ipswich against Leicester City. Actually, so half the people listening probably don't even know who Alan Brazil is, but that entertained me knowing there's a little link there to Leicester. So Mancini ended his career. Alan Brazil started his career. So, all good connections at Leicester.
Oh, by the way, if you put those two men next to each other now,
one's aged than the other.
Ever so slightly. One looks like he might explode at any minute, and the other one's all suave and sophisticated. I mean, it's just...
Which one's which?
Well, I'll leave that up to you to decide, Ed, but you tell me. Right, okay. I can't remember what we were talking about. I've just got distracted by Alan Brazil's purple face.
Racist.
We're going to ask Ed who is overestimated or who he underestimated as a signing was.
Is right. So, Edbert, your turn. Hit me.
All right. Well, just a little note before I explain this. People told me off air for my suggestions being... they weren't allowed because naturally...
Who your suggestions were, because they were very underwhelming.
Wow. I was overwhelmed with how these players performed, which was the aim of the game. Initial one was Vardy, and that's important because Vardy, it wasn't just the step up from non-league to where we were, but it's also the step up that he did whilst he was at Leicester. Because lest we forget, the first 3 seasons he had here, he didn't really... Yeah, he had one decent season in the Championship, but a lot of strikers have a decent season in the Championship. And several times there were reports that he was looking... the club were interested in sending him out on loan because they weren't sure whether he could make it. And then something clicked after being at the club 3 years already, and then he's ended up being one of the best strikers we ever had, like, if not the best striker. I think that is, he's just been a huge signing, and not just from where he's come, but from where he was midway through his Leicester career to where he is now, has also been a huge progression. But I wasn't allowed to say him.
Sounds like you've done a whole monologue on him anyway.
Oh no, I'll chuck out some more players.
Are you going to explain why you weren't allowed to do Riyad Mahrez as well in less than 10 seconds?
No, okay, same as above. Yeah, same sort of vibe. But I'm going to go for 2 players purely because they play very similar positions. And whilst we paid a decent amount of money for them, I think A, the amount they are worth now or when we sold them grew exponentially, and B, how absolutely essential these players are to the way we play now and or we played when we had them, is Kante and Ndidi. Like, they sort of play the similar role on the pitch. They play it differently. But you take either of them players out for what we bought them for, which was relatively modest sums of our team, and our sides fall off massively. So I can't underplay how important they are. And I think that just shows sort of how brilliant they've been for us. And
so
when
at the time of us signing them, you just dismissed. You just thought, nah, these just because. Well, what I'm alluding to is that because
when we signed Kante, we also signed Inler that summer, and I, for one, was much more excited about the prospect of Gökhan Inler playing for us than Kante, who I had no real knowledge of about at all. Yet one of them was our star player and helped us win the league, and one of them was there to make the numbers. Like, same with when we signed Ndidi. Like, we were hoping he could develop into something good, but I think he's one of the best in the league in his position now. And what was he? I'm guessing maybe 10 to 15 million, something like that. Became absolutely essential. And at least personally, I didn't think either of them would become the players they are now and be that core to the way our whole team operates.
Do you want to know where Gökhan Inler is now?
Well, probably at home, not allowed out of his house. But
only just actually, because he's in Turkey, who suspended their league season late last week. So he plays for Istanbul Başakşehir, I think is how you pronounce it. I think they're doing quite well actually. They won the surprise packages. Played 40 times for them, scoring once. So yeah, so he's still going, 35 years old, but plays with number 88 on his back.
This was the question that we put out on Twitter as well and asked people for both directions. And Gökhan Inler is probably the most popular selection for underwhelming signing. A lot of people seem to think he would be the player to sort of catapult us up the league. Other players were Jamie Vardy, obviously thinking that he wouldn't make it. Ahmed Musa, everyone thought was going to be great and wasn't. And someone actually said Johnny Evans. He slated the fact that we signed him, but he turned out to be class, obviously.
What's yours, Jamie?
My disappointing signing is, I thought I'd go slightly different from Inler. Was actually one of my first choices, but the other one was one Matt Mills. Now I don't know if you can remember much about Mills, but we signed him back in the 2011 season under Sven-Göran Eriksson, and this was when we basically had finally got a bit of a cash injection, seemed to have settled with a big name manager, and we paid really big money for him at the time. We paid nearly, was it about £5-6 million for a player back then, which was big. So he's obviously a centre half, was doing well at Reading, where he was signed by Brendan Rodgers, believe it or not, for around £2 million. And he came in, he was almost immediately made captain, and he was awful. He kept his disciplinary record was atrocious. He kept getting sent off, and then obviously the season didn't go particularly well. Pearson ended up coming in again, and he fell out with Pearson. He was reported to have fallen out with fans, abusing them in the stands, and as a player that was captain, I mean, it didn't exactly bode well, didn't it? And I think he eventually left that. I think he only managed one season at the club, and ended up going to Bolton at a massive loss. And it was more of a disappointment because it was one of those signings you see as a statement of real intent. Like, we're spending £5 million on a defender. Like, we've got all of these players.
We spent nearly £20 million that summer
on some crap as well, I guess. I think we ended up.
I've got the list in front of me if you want some names.
I mean, who can you remember from that?
Well,
I mean,
fun game. We have two of them still play for us now. Who are they?
Schmeichel.
Yeah, and
two.
Yeah.
No, we don't. Surely.
You'll kick yourself.
No, pass. Oh yes, no, got it.
No, can't say, Krys. Do you want to have a guess?
I don't know.
I'm gonna tell you that it was not right because we didn't sign him in the summer.
All right. And who are you gonna say it is?
Big Wes.
Yeah, it is. Well, did we not get him in the summer? I've just got that season we signed him.
I think we got him in January, but still, it still counts. And that's amazing. I didn't realise it. Just show you how long he's been there.
We got Mills, Beckford, Konchesky, Schmeichel, St. Ledger, Morgan, Marshall, Drinkwater, Peltier, Gelson Fernandez.
I thought he was going to be awesome, him as well.
Oh, yeah. But also we got Nugent on a free, Neil Dans, Michael Johnson.
See, now he was going to be my other one because we paid £1 million to loan him for a year. And he was like the poster boy of like sort of English football, wasn't he? He's had so much like hype about him coming from Man City, who are obviously on the way up as well, big club. And you thought this is going to be great, like literally one of the best rated prospects in English football. And he was atrocious. He was fat. He was slow. Oh God! I mean, you've seen the pictures of him a couple of years after we signed him. Just an absolute unit, like so disappointing. Yeah, poor Rick. So that was my disappointment. The other one on the list was one Dennis Wise, because the way that went just coincided with us being crap again. Right, so let's lighten the mood. Players that did well exceeded your expectation, Krys.
That's literally what me and Chris did.
We've just done that, Jamie. If you want to listen to the show.
I did this last time.
Have you been doing your coursework or something?
No.
Mental, Jamie. You're showing big disrespect now.
Big disrespect. My other one, then, I'll tell you a player who exceeded my expectations because I messed this one up again. Again, tried to think slightly outside the box and went with Lloyd Dyer. Because...
Wait, so what are you even answering now?
He did it the wrong way around first time. But he's stupid and old.
What a host.
I'm going senile in my old age. A player that exceeded my expectations was Lloyd Dyer. Because we signed him in our League One season. A free transfer, so didn't pay a penny. And he was just like one of those that, such a cliche, like, but ever present for Leicester then, wasn't he? He played on at like 44 games first season and then played 30 plus games all the way through into getting us promoted and scored some really didn't score like loads of goals. He was obviously quick and direct, and he mainly had one trick, which was essentially kick it past the player and just run.
He was good at it though.
He was very good at it. Had the skinniest legs that you've ever did see.
Wow, I've seen skinnier. You've not seen my legs.
No, I'm very grateful of that.
Maybe you should.
But he was. Look, anyway, he was a very good player for us, and he scored that goal against Bolton away when we did seal our promotion, seal their championship title as well. So he was the man for me that.
He didn't want to play in the Premier League for us, though, did he?
He did not. And I wonder if that's something that he possibly regrets. But as a free transfer, signed in League One, to do what he did at the club, I thought was pretty good. But yeah, those are mine. In terms of the ones for the positive that we had on Twitter, I mean, most people were actually just focusing on the negative because I think that's just how we're all feeling at the minute, isn't it? But Soyun Chu, Johnny Evans for the positive, Wes Morgan, and someone said Ahmed Musa. He was really good. I'm not sure they answered the question.
That was me.
Okay, and I'm definitely sure that he did not answer the question. So, as apparently I've not listened, so I'm very sorry. Is there anything else that you want to add in at this point?
Well, now it's time for me and Chris to give our... Yeah.
I asked you this. You said I wasn't listening.
Invite us to give the bad ones.
Oh, I thought you did that first. I really wasn't. Hit me with your bad ones.
Well, yeah, mine is not going to take long. It was a bit of a random one. Didn't want to be obvious. I went for Trevor Benjamin, if anyone remembers him. We signed him in July of 2000. He'd come from Cambridge, where he scored 40 goals in 2 seasons. So quick math suggests he averaged about 20 goals a season, lower league. We paid 1.3 million, so relatively speaking, I don't know, what's that? Probably about 15, 20 million in these terms. So, he's a relative signing. But then, with 4.5 years into his time at Leicester, he'd only scored 12 goals. So that's an average of 3 a season. And yeah, he's had 25 clubs since leaving Leicester in 2005. So I think his career sort of spiraled out of control. But like I say, he wasn't probably tipped for massive things, but it's just how he rapidly declined after Leicester, and including Leicester, which probably makes him quite an iconic signing. The miserable proportions for me.
Good one. He wasn't great, was he? The only time I remember him actually doing anything any good was, I think he scored a goal at Stoke or something, and he basically just ran through 3 players. He didn't try and go around them, just ran directly through them. I think he tripped into one of them as well. Like, he was just a bit of a disaster, wasn't he? Ed, go on then, your turn. Hit me with your one.
I've just been going through the recent transfer list, and just before I give the bad signings, I want to give an honourable mention, if that's all right. Someone who won't get discussed in and amongst key players for title-winning seasons, but one player who made a massive impact, who I was very surprised with, was Hoof. I just think he was so solid. I wasn't expecting as much, because I've sort of fell out of favour a bit at Stoke, and him and Morgan were so solid, weren't they? But yeah, players who disappointed in recent times, I think we've got a long list of them, really. I'll just name a few, because I really can't give you just one. Sorry. Gazelle, not quite the Riyad Mahrez replacement. Silva didn't work. Slimani, nearly £30 million for what? Musa, great guy, would have him back, but didn't really work, did it? And I had high hopes for Musa. I think a lot of people did, actually. The prospect of sort of Mahrez, Musa, Vardy, I thought that was going to be like so much pace and scary for opponents.
Good on FIFA.
Wow, and that's the most important thing, Sorry to offend Christian, but Kaputska's been a bit of a disappointment.
So I don't know if it is. You'll have to say his name properly, because
I can't pronounce it.
What really frustrates me is, if you just read it phonetically, the S clearly comes before the T, yet people insist on saying ska. It'll be STKA, not TSKA. But that's just something that really annoys me. Yeah, there you go, you get in there. But yeah, nonetheless. Well, Ed said this to me off air, and my honest response was, well, yeah, he's obviously disappointed, like, massively. But like, if I was to defend him, is that if he is genuinely injured, which he supposedly is, he has been injured for a lot of time. But yeah, ultimately, when he has been given game time, he came over from, well, albeit the Polish Premier League, promising big things, but ultimately his step was too big. I mean, physically he was a bit frail, but the same could be said for someone like Mahrez. But yeah, he's still a Leicester City player, so whoever or not he ever gets a chance or not is like, how long did Vardy took 3 years, you said, to good. So I think he's got a bit of time left if that's going to be the case. But yeah, he's looking to fall away in that category.
Well, if we give him 3 more years, he might be ready to start next season. If we're not going to get back playing for a while, so topical. I thought I'd scroll down a little bit further, so it's not just recent players I'm lamenting. I feel like I'm picking on a lot of people. Not very nice. But Jermaine Beckford was a massive disappointment, wasn't he? Like, what he's scored, playing quite regularly at Everton, scoring goals. Obviously, before Everton, he was at Leeds, scoring a lot of goals there, and it didn't work, did it?
No, I mean, he showed in flashes, didn't he? He got that hat trick against Forest. where he was excellent, but it just wasn't consistent enough. And I think it's one of those cases of personalities as well not being right. From what you heard about his sort of attitude at the club and the way he perceived himself, because he was on pretty big money compared to everyone else. And it was back at that time when you're spending that sort of money on a player with that reputation, you expect a return on it. And well, Leicester didn't get that at all, did they?
No.
No.
Yeah, I've stopped ripping through players now, so
they'll take it personally.
Well, Levi Porter listens, so
Hopefully he doesn't.
I asked this question to my brother-in-law, who had a sort of a weird encyclopedic knowledge of players from that period, around from probably about 2006 onwards, and he came up with some names which genuinely I had to check were actually players, like Ricky Sappleton,
yes,
Eric Odihambo.
Yeah.
Is he a youth product?
Yeah, he's saying that he wasn't a signing, but he was a player when he came through, because he made his debut really young, didn't he?
I've got one.
Been an avid
Danny Cadamartri.
Yeah.
Didn't we have Barry Hales as well?
Yes, that was under Holloway, wasn't it?
Big Barry Hales, thank you. And then there were the likes of, remember Josh Lowe?
Yes.
He looked like a villain from a TV show. And the likes of Elvis Hammond. We actually paid quite a lot of money for Elvis Hammond back in the day, which is ridiculous.
From Fulham.
We signed him.
Making this up.
Oh, great knowledge.
You just made me think of someone we did have, and he's nowhere near levels of Esteban Cambiasso, but Les Ferdinand. He did a job, and he had a reputation, didn't he, when he came to us as a good Premier League striker.
Yeah. Yeah, he'd been there and done it, hadn't he? Like with some big clubs, and but we put him in a team containing the likes of, we had Marcus Bent, who was all right, but then Craig Hignett and
wasn't it Les Ferdinand and Paul Dickov? That is what the average age must have been about 35, 36 for a front two pairing if they ever played together. But I just remember Les Ferdinand, his heading stats would have been 20 on Football Manager. He was an absolute power. He got his head onto everything. That's all I remember. Because he wasn't like the tallest either. He was just quite stocky, wasn't he? So
he was really, really good. But it was the season before that where it was just dire. It was the 2002 season where we had no money, and we had Nicky Summerby and Billy McKinley come in. I'm fairly certain that they played for free. I seem to think, and Paul Murphy joined on a free transfer. Damien Delaney came back to the club on loan. That's probably a player that you wouldn't remember played for, isn't it?
No.
Obviously, he was here for a little while, but yeah, it was bad times. It makes you appreciate what we've got now, I suppose. Let's try and be positive. But Brian,
your party looked like a world beater.
No one can do that.
Is he your latest one that you're going to pick on? Is it, Ed?
It's not latest. I'm sure I genuinely think he's a lovely guy. I think we'd probably get on. I think we'd go to like one of them board game cafes and just chat for a while. Like probably play chess and have a hot chocolate, and would be just cool. But I just don't think he's good enough to play for a top 6 Premier League team.
Yeah, just don't mention football when you speak to him, because
on the off chance
we'll talk about chess.
On the off chance that you do listen to this podcast, Daniel, and you'd like to go for a coffee once,
we could film that. That'd be a good feature. You
can go and play some Snakes and Ladders with Ed. It'll be terrific. And as like I said, apologise in that apparently I messed everything in the flow of things up today, but I will remember to ask you guys if there's anything else you'd like to add for real this time. Ed, you normally got something. There is. Go on. Your floor is yours.
I've got nothing to add. I thought Krys was going to say something then.
No.
I'm just really enjoying looking at this list of old players Leicester signed in the last 10 years. I'm looking at in the 10-11 season. Was that when Sven first came? We signed a lot of players on loan, didn't we? And Oh, someone who was a big name who was rubbish, Ricardo.
The goalkeeper.
Yeah, but we signed some people who have at least had semi-notable careers. So that year we
Ricardo went in goal without any goalkeeper gloves on.
Doesn't need them.
He might as well not have him on. He was atrocious.
Well, no. This is the one time that it was when England lost to Portugal at Euro 2004. He took his gloves off as a psychological thing, and he saved them, didn't he?
Yeah, and then he took the winner.
Yeah.
Because I remember hating him at that moment that we signed him like 8 years later.
What happened with our keepers that year? Because we signed Carl Akimi, Ricardo, Chris Kirkland. Conrad Logan came back off loan. Like, did we have a crisis or something?
Basically,
or were they all just rubbish?
That.
So I remember we were linked with David Beckham, weren't we? That season.
Oh yeah, because everyone's like, we're going to get him because of the links to Sven. He's coming back, and
we absolutely owned the loan market that season. We signed Diamante Camara, Curtis Davis, Kyle Norton, Patrick Van Aanholt, Jeffrey Brumer, Ben Mee. These players are all like Premier League quality. But obviously. Sorry, go on.
Sorry, Brumer and Norton, can remember, both scored absolute rockets.
Yeah.
Season as well. Brumer's was an unbelievable goal considering he was centre back.
Isn't he like a Dutch international now?
Yeah, I think he plays for in Germany as well. Yeah.
I mean, in terms of players that we've had on loan, we've done pretty well. I mean, it was only a couple of years later that the 3 guys we got on loan were Michael Keane, Jesse Lingard, and Harry Kane.
One good player.
Yeah. Which one do you mean?
Well, actually, I don't know who's the best at the minute because obviously he's injured. But yeah, weirdly, that season we signed 4 people from Man U. We got Delat, James, Keane, and Lingard. We went through that odd phase of signing under Pearson, didn't we? Getting a lot of former Man U reserve players, up and coming ones like James and Drinkwater and whatever. Well, yeah, that's all.
And that was also when we had that weird relationship, like you said, and they took Jeffrey Schlupp on trial for 2 weeks.
Yeah, never understood that.
No, not that he did anything wrong, but I didn't think he was quite that good.
I mean, he starts for Palace sometimes now, so he's done all right.
I can never take the piss out of Palace because they've beaten us so convincingly in so many games recently. Right, listen, I think that's as good a time as any to wrap things up, isn't it? Apologies for my ramble in the middle. I was listening to you guys, I swear, sorry. But thank you very much for listening, anyone who has. We are going to be keeping these as regular as we can. So please do listen in.
Yeah, I was going to say, do we need to do an announcement about rations?
Yes. So the podcast will be moving to fortnightly instead of weekly, mainly because we're not certain we've got a weekly podcast content in us, but also
we're not creative enough.
We're not. But we hope that you will continue to listen. We will be putting questions out and trying to get as much involvement as possible. So please do tweet us in with anything that you want us to cover. And remember to subscribe. And thank you very much for listening and stay safe. Hopefully see you next time.
Stay safe.